Hey, Dr. Cindy's here. Um, I know I said I was going to start doing some of these, and I am. I actually put together a Facebook page that I'm calling The Doctor Is In, and I put that first post that I did up on there. I found a post that I thought was pretty interesting that I had written to the day on September the 30th last year. And it was in response to a post where I was going more or less toe to toe with someone who was professing to be a black person, but I've since learned that this person wasn't and was just masquerading. And these kinds of things happen all the time. And this person was actually a lot of we shared a lot of so-called mutuals on Facebook within the community that I am joined at the hip at this point. So I want to read it first, just in case there are people. Hold on one second. My grandson is in here with me, and I asked him to be quiet. But that's not going to happen, and you and I both know that. Hold on, Gray. Shh. Go further into mommy and daddy's room so that Nanny can concentrate, right? Okay. And play quietly. Anyway, at some point I'm going to have a space for this stuff. So anyway, I said bigots are sick. It's sociopathic and at times psychotic behavior. Blacks do not engage in the kinds of bias-born diatribe, that baiting, slurring, and animus-fueled behavior that whites have resorted to for generations. We just don't do it. It ranges from ridiculous jokes made at our expense to the most vile, disgusting language imaginable. But here's the million-dollar question. And I wrote it that way, but I mean it too. I mean it. Why is this behavior? Why would anybody engage in this behavior in this 21st century? This is the 21st century, people. Not the 17th, not the 18th, not the 19th, and not the 20th. This is the 21st century. And note how I counted all those darn centuries that we have had to deal with this kind of BS in one form or another. Let me continue. The question of why is not lost, however, on all the other centuries, the ones I just named. It's just that this is the information age, people. This is the information age. One would think that en masse whites would have realized the insane notion of skin color as milky white supreme and whites as the arbiters of superiority. They would realize that this was a lie told to them to lull them into a false sense of comfort, and I must add security, while they too languish and subsist, or in some cases enjoy a measure of material wealth within their own respective caste classes of subjugation. But for reasons that only a psychiatrist could probably dissect, they have this seeming impairment of social cognition and a pathology of innate animus, which appears to be projected onto black people based on their own insecurities. You will never see the kinds of behaviors perpetrated against white people by black people. You just are not going to see it. You haven't seen it, and you won't see it. For example, you won't see black people hanging effigies of white people on trees. You won't see them taking pictures in front of Harvard, grinning and posing in whiteface. You won't see them carrying tiki torches and threatening to kill, taping bottles of tanning lotion at school dormitories, or assessing their penchant for mass murder of themselves as part and parcel of their own inherent criminality, and not even the apparent sour grape aspect of the wannabe black phenomenon. No, you won't see or have the experiences we have courtesy of yourselves. It's one of those, come on, we really, just like Fannie LaFleur said, we just don't have time for that. We're trying to live. You'll just have to make them up as part of the justification you seem to hold on to, all relative to your hatred for us. Now, I got a few comments about it. Of course, you get those comments that say, oh, you hit the nail on the head, and, various ones like that. But I also got that age-old question. Do you believe that all white people today are racist? So I wrote this person back and I said, that is a leading question and a very loaded one. Since racism has experienced various paradigm shifts over the generations, a question you could ask could be, do all white people exhibit bias? Do all white people exhibit racial bias on a spectrum from unconscious to very conscious and overt expressions of subjugation, power, and oppression? That's the question. I would then be able to say absolutely. Yep. Because it's born out of the conditioning of that white supremacist doctrine of lies and the resultant complicity in the structural, institutional systems and individual behavior that support racism in perpetuity. So it makes it a whole heck of a lot more complicated than just that blanket question. Oh, all whites racist. All whites are biased, unconscious or not. You are. You have levels. Okay? There was something I was talking to my son about the fact that there are at least 2 generations of individuals who, black and white, who just never, they came after the advent of the civil rights movement, so they don't have any conception of how it was. So there are many who honestly believe that it was over, and that just merely picking yourself up by your bootstraps was enough. And so that when now it's like this great big surprise that it has that it's being talked about again, and that somehow people like me and others are stirring some sort of pot, and we're making it real because we're talking about it. No, it's always been there. It's always been there in background. And what was done, which was pretty insidious, was to put a face on it, like a face is put on everything. A face is put on immigration. A face is put on racism. They show you the guy with the swastika on his forehead and say that's it. So my son said, yeah, just like they show you faces of things and they tell you this is the guy. You watch out for the guy with the trench coat, when who you really ought to be watching out for is your priest or your next door neighbor. Yeah, you could say that. That's the way racism is. It's been watered down to its most elementary level, which is individual behavior of individual people. It's been brought down to that. So that while that's going on and everybody is saying, oh, you racist because you said this, and you racist because you said that, what's really happening is the Voting Rights Act is being decimated. Other civil rights are being destroyed. All of those things that really represent the system of racism are coming back into the fore. I just asked one of my colleagues, Dr. Dawn Amber, to if she's a historian as well, professor of history, to if she would be so kind as to find that court case. There's a court case out there that that literally put us in a. I don't know whether it was a Supreme Court case that enabled Jim Crow, or I don't know whether it came even before that, but I know that it was either during Reconstruction or directly after Reconstruction. There was something that happened because a result of what happened just threw us, not under the bus, but under the ground. And we've been trying to pick ourselves up out of that ever since. And I'm saying that just to say that those kinds of things can happen again. There are any number of laws